Today we are going to be interviewing somebody from the Emergency Management Agency who also happens to be an MMA fighter. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. I am excited for this. A few days ago on YouTube and Instagram, I put out messages for you guys to ask questions for somebody that is in the Emergency Management Agency. So with me today, I have my buddy Alec, who's been doing it for a while now. He is also an MMA fighter, and he volunteered to be on the show today, and he has been very stoked about it, and he has been keeping up with a lot of the comments that you guys have left. So I really appreciate the feedback that I've gotten from you guys, and I'm just gonna start going down the list. Let's go ahead and jump into it. And I'm going to take some of the best questions that were asked by you guys from YouTube and from Instagram.
Which, by the way, pretty creative stuff.
Yeah, it's very.
You got a pretty awesome fan base.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sure they appreciate that too.
Yeah.
First question is from Michael Rodriguez on YouTube. What is, and I thought I put this first because I figured this was probably the most important question. What is the overall responsibility and or duties of EMA?
So the long short of the version is working with emergency management and homeland security. We are the liaison between the federal, state, local, tribal levels dealing with anything man-made or natural disaster. Anything from active shooter terroristic threats, bomb, white powdery substance, to natural disasters of hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, anything in between, you name it. And it's ever evolving. It's always growing. EMA is kind of a young department. Even though it's been around since about the 60s, we are always expanding with a little bit of resources, honestly. You know, I work here in this agency. Our EMA personally, even though that sounds like a lot of stuff to do, a lot of different avenues, there's only 2 of us. So it's very difficult to be able to handle everything with 2 of us by yourselves. So really, we're a department of relationships. You know, we work closely with all public safety, and not only just public safety, but also private sector. We work with businesses, other entities that would be able to help us, volunteer organizations, to be able to get the job done. And that could be anything. That could be from providing logistics such as food and equipment, to manpower, to overall command staff. You know, during a hurricane or during any mass casualty event, we bring everyone together and work under a NIMS operation system, which is kind of a instant command structure, bringing all the agencies together to be able to meet the objective and get everything done in a response.
And I'm glad you brought up NIMS, because anybody that's in law enforcement or you're going into law enforcement, you will be very familiar with NIMS. If you don't learn about it in the academy, you'll be learning about it after the academy, and there's different levels, like category, how would you say it? Like different categories of...
Different levels of responsibility.
Yeah.
You have different jobs and assigned to you. The best thing is that everyone does it.
Well, I mean, like the different levels of NIMS.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's the, we call it boots on the ground level, to the operations, to the logistics, all the way up to the command level, where you're making the major decisions. You're worrying about finances. You're worrying about your media. You're doing your PIO relationships, liaison to other agencies, coordination of that factor, all the way down to the firefighters and police officers on the ground. You know, boots on the ground, as we say. It's very important for everyone to kind of understand NIMS and go through that process.
It helps everybody speak with one voice, which is what you want. And unfortunately, no matter how much training you get in any type of emergency management, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there's always going to be chaos when chaos strikes. It doesn't matter how well you prepare for something, things are always going to go wrong. And unfortunately, he has the job of having to deal with those things that go wrong.
Yeah, that's the fun of the job. NIMS gives you the structure, guidelines, kind of as you say.
Okay, that's
each,
a good way to put it.
Each agency, each local entity, you know, everything begins local and starts local. Starts local, ends local. So you have to work within your means and your supplies and your people and your relationships to get the job done. NIMS is a good way to kind of give you an overall view. But if you know how to work with your neighbor, you know how to work as a team, sometimes just getting the job done without going, you know, exactly A, B, C, it's not necessary. But the important thing is bringing people together to understand that. You know, that's what happens. You have to expect there's going to be outliers. There's going to be extreme moments. There's going to be things you didn't anticipate. You can't plan for everything, but if you know that everyone's ready to handle anything, you have a better chance of responding in a safe and speedy response.
Next question comes from That Car Guy on Instagram. What's your favorite snack?
Oh man, Reese's Pieces.
Really?
I love me some Reese's Pieces. Just a movie time, or just at home, or
Netflix and chill with Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces all day long, baby. I love them. Can't get enough of them. I don't miss many of them, as you can tell.
Next question from Instagram. What are the best ways to survive any natural disaster?
Having a plan is always number one. Knowing your resources, knowing communications, knowing who to listen to. There's going to be a lot of sensationalization when it comes to weather channels, radios, news media outlets, all that stuff. National Weather Service, National Hurricane Service, your local EMA, or your local public safety agencies, they're going to give you the best information. So for our best example, a hurricane. To survive a hurricane, listening as a citizen is typically two things. You hide from the wind, you run from the water. So if you know you're in a very high storm surge impactable area, you want to get out of harm's way. To kind of bring that over to MMA style, kind of crossing the two worlds. I like to tell people it's like boxing. What's the safest measure in a boxing match? From a punch, get out of the way. You want to learn how to dodge. Why wouldn't you do that in this instance? If that punch is that hurricane, why don't you just dodge, get out of the way, instead of staying in harm's way? Being in a high impact area, we don't tell people sheltering in place is a good thing. We're too vulnerable here. So knowing your area, knowing your geographical location is another big benefit to your plans in the future. Finding a place to evacuate to, having some friends on a different part of the state, finding hotel rooms during hurricane season that could be open. Just kind of getting that plan in place and staying on top, staying in kind of the flow of information is probably your best tool and your best resource that's out there for free.
So a question I'm actually curious about, this is not from the comments. Let's say there is a major hurricane, which is anything category 3 or higher. Let's say there's a major hurricane coming your way, directly toward you. At what point do you recommend people start taking it seriously as far as evacuations go? Like how far beforehand would you say, okay, we need to book a hotel room now, it's time to go, let's go ahead and go?
I would say before impacts, the way we rate everything, we don't judge it off of it's a category 3. What we judge it off is the onset of tropical storms conditions. So you're looking at wind speeds over 40 miles an hour. You're looking at potential storm surge. Of course, the angle in which the storm is coming could impact us. The moment those set in for us, we base off our evacuations or our call to action. For the citizen, typically we would say a good window is like a 72-hour window. If you were going to take the liberties of leaving yourself, give yourself enough time to get everything packed, all your important information, to get out of harm's way, to get your hotel booked, talk to your family member across state, finding a safe spot. That 72 hours is kind of your safest bet because it gives you time to get out. You're not going to be trapped in any kind of interstate issues because that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And finding a way to stay in an area that's not going to be impacted. And if things change, because as the weather does, it always does what it wants.
Yeah, like a Dorian.
Exactly. Dorian was a big factor of that. It's unpredictable. So having that buffer, say it changes and doesn't affect us, it'll give you that time to start coming back, or at least giving the time for local agencies to give you the information of what's coming next. But getting that 72-hour window out of harm's way was probably what I would suggest to people.
Next question is from Snake Socks on YouTube. How quickly could you choke out Officer 401? Demonstration needed. I'll go ahead and speak and say he could probably do it very quickly. And no demonstration is needed. I have to finish the end of this video.
I would be gentle though, lover-like almost.
Next question is from Nathan Stevens. What's the bigger adrenaline rush, dealing with an emergency situation or entering the octagon?
That's a difficult one because it's two different types of adrenaline rush.
I would picture going into the octagon as being like an instant dump of adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
Whereas an emergency situation would be adrenaline steadily, for a week long.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're talking Irma, being affected by Irma. It was at least a week to 2 weeks of nonstop adrenaline. Things were happening. You're trying to get all these different parts of the puzzle pulled together. You're trying to get things stood back up every day for a whole 24 hours. You're just into it. You don't think about eating or sleeping. You're just going. Again, like you said, with the octagon, you're in there. You're tunnel vision. Everything is focused and narrow. And by the time you get done with everything, it's over like that. You know, I've been fortunate on the MMA side. A lot of my matches have been pretty short within the first round.
Well, yeah, because you knock them out.
Yeah.
That's the other. He says it's over. It's just over. That's usually because he ends up knocking the other person out like pretty quickly.
But it's a great feeling. For MMA purposes, it's that build-up before the fight that gets you. It intensifies as it gets closer. You're watching your teammates fight before you. You're trying not to get super hype up, watching and supporting them. And then by the time you have your fight, you're ready to do business. You go and you do it. And then afterwards, it's like, all right, it's party time. You know, where's my beer and cheeseburger?
Well, kind of stemming from that, here's a question from Instagram from 757 Nathan P. What do you eat before a fight?
During the day, so you might see, obviously I fight lightweight, you know, you can tell by my stature. So I have to do a lot of cutting.
Needless to say, he is also a smart ass.
A little bit. So being a heavyweight, there is still cutting in the heavyweight division. You still have to be at 265 for your fights. Of course, being indulgent in food that I am, I'm a little bit over 265. So there is cutting down. You want to be really strict on your diet, eating the right tools, the right resources. And I, over time, has learned it was you want to put the foods in that's going to fuel your body the best. So a lot of greens, simple proteins, nothing that's going to be heavy, too starchy, that's going to make you tired. The day before the fight, typically I'll do a breakfast, like a good hearty breakfast to digest throughout the day. And then before the fight, I'll be on an empty stomach, honestly, because it puts me in that hunger state.
So what would you consider a hefty breakfast? Like, what would you make?
For me, it would still be consistent of greens, throw your vegetables in there, a good omelet, like a good veggie omelet in there, maybe some light meat, some chicken. I've had some fish before for breakfast. It felt fancy, had my pinky up and everything. But kind of just good wholesome foods. Home cooked foods, nothing processed, nothing fast food, nothing too heavy, nothing quick, complex carbohydrates because it's going to burn off really quickly. You want that long lasting. And so, like I said, I'll just have a hearty breakfast in the morning, let it go through all night. By the time that fight hits and adrenaline, my whole system is just ready to go. And then I don't feel anything until afterwards. And then it's time to throw down. So then that's a real eating begins.
From Hector 23, what's the best advice you have for someone starting jiu-jitsu?
Learn how to be a sponge, first and foremost. Jiu-jitsu is something that you cannot muscle your way into. You'll get embarrassed very quickly, and you learn the truth about yourself. You think one way outside of jiu-jitsu, then you'll go against some of these more experienced veteran people that are in there, and they're humble. It's a great family environment, I'll tell you that. But someone you would not expect would be able to put you in positions you wouldn't believe that you could be in before you even know what's going on. So being receptive and open, being okay with criticism, and knowing that you're not the best guy in the room or girl in the room. Like there's going to be someone in there that's going to be more experienced with you. But having that open kind of mentality, they'll be receptive to you. They'll want to teach you. They'll want to train. So being trainable and being the sponge to what everyone says is a huge tool, very in the beginning.
I've always said on this channel that I think the most important martial art for law enforcement is BJJ, hands down, because most of your fights are going to go to the ground anyway. And especially as an officer trying to detain somebody and put handcuffs on, I think it's important. What do you think?
I would agree with that, but I would throw a few more things in there. I would say the number one tool is verbal judo. Learning how to talk to people first and foremost, and disarming them without realizing you're disarming them is a huge tool and asset. When it comes to physicality, absolutely. You want to be comfortable in the most uncomfortable situations. And if you're the more experienced person, like say on your back or someone trying to tackle you, that you're going to handle yourself on the ground, because you are right. 95, 90, whatever the percentage of them go down to the ground, you have to be able to handle yourself and protect yourself and get away safely. But I think being well-rounded and not just incorporating BJJ or just incorporating boxing or kickboxing or all these things. You have to bring everything together. You have to be able to transition from one style to another to safely be able to handle physical attacks like that.
Next question is from James. Naturally, what was the craziest thing that happened on the job? Also, when did you start martial arts?
The craziest thing on the job? Let's see, for EMA, craziest thing I've done, several once-in-a-lifetime events. I never thought I would be trying to push whales back into an ocean. Those are the things that come up that you don't expect to deal with, but you have to learn on the job very quickly how to deal with that, how to deal with the public, how to deal with the whales, how to deal with, DNR, marine biology, possible infectious areas, like understanding a species and their habits within minutes before you potentially put yourself or the citizens at danger or know what's really going on. That's a standout for me. That's one of my top 5. As far as, what was the second part with the MMA?
How long have you been doing it? Like, how long did you, when did you start MMA?
So, MMA has been kind of a part of me for a long time. I wrestled in high school, I wrestled in college. I was fortunate enough to go to a D1 college, and that was an experience in itself because that's a whole different league. They kick your ass. But that transitioned to MMA because when I moved to where I'm at now, I was starting to get fat and out of shape, and I wanted to do something that I knew to keep me in shape. Something I loved, functionality type of training, not just lifting heavy weights, not just trying to run because I hate running, but something that overall made my body feel strong. So I met up with a boxing instructor. I also had another family that was teaching a wrestling studio, or they had a martial arts studio that I brought into some wrestling with them, and it kind of just formed. And when I started MMA, it was back around like the Matt Hughes era. So early or like mid 2006, 7 is when I really officially started. I had my first match, and my first match lasted about 1:30 seconds. I was the underdog. I was the fat, pasty white boy that was going to get his butt stomped in, and I ended up breaking the guy's orbital socket, and he was their mainliner. So at that point, I kind of knew I really enjoyed this, and I had an amazing team with me.
So it took him breaking somebody's eyeball to figure out he liked the sport.
Yeah. Well, what made me really like it is, and I'm actually going to jump you because I read one of the questions about how do you know, can you be trained to take a punch, or you just have to like it? And I'm a big believer in you find out when you get punched in the face if you like it or not. I got punched in the face by a good friend of mine, who's now a good friend of mine. And at that point I realized, yep, I like getting punched in the face. You either like it or you don't, and that's a big determining factor, because if you can't handle being punched in the face and fight through that kind of a pain, you're gonna have a very tough time. You have to be kind of twerked in the head to really enjoy this sport.
Next question is from Mike. What type of emergency is the most difficult to plan for? And if not the same, which is the most difficult to manage during the incident?
Whales.
Really?
No, not at all. The most difficult one, man, it's so hard. We do so much preparation and possibilities of disasters that could affect us.
I would think hurricanes, because they usually last the longest. Because you guys are busy doing that for weeks.
We're doing that for weeks. Now you're talking about endurance. Hurricanes affect us the longest, yes, because once the event's done and we bring people back home, saying that there's a home to come back to, then we go into the recovery phase, and that can last anywhere between 6 months to a year, because you're dealing with FEMA, you're dealing with damages, you're having to get people to a disaster recovery center, you're dealing with getting information back to the government so that way you can get reimbursements, you're revamping your mitigation to see what was done well, what could be done better. It doesn't stop once people get back home and power's back on. For us, it just keeps going. I remember for Irma, I think it wasn't until the following hurricane season we kind of put a pin in it and said, okay, we're finally done with Irma. Now, we still have some back parts to deal with when it comes to the federal government, because we all know how the federal government moves at a snail's pace, but it's an ongoing event. You have to have some real endurance to deal with these things, and people don't know about it. People don't see that in the forefront. They think, once they get home, they're dealing with that, everything is good. there's people still working behind the scenes. So hurricanes are definitely one of the most difficult ones. But as far as just in my opinion, the worst ones to plan for are the ones that you don't anticipate. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
And we think about this. You know, my biggest fear is what happens to an earthquake here locally. You know, I don't think we've seen one, but there is a potential. And if there's a potential, then you have to prepare for it. And having the resources, having the training, having the people aware of what to do, how to deal with those kind of things when that's not something you regularly deal with, it's an interesting task. You know, I look at it kind of like a puzzle or a clue game. You know, you get little pieces and little clues, and you got to put it all together to make that picture. So it's always a challenge. It only takes 12 inches for water to move a truck. It will pick up a truck with 12 inches of water and carry it down the street.
What if it's lifted? Here was a good one I really wanted to ask you, because I'm sure you encounter this quite a bit. What are the common misconceptions people have about your role in EMA? And what are the realities regarding it? Do you ever find yourself conflicting with other emergency services when you're trying to do your job?
So a lot of when I speak about EMA, of course, I talk about locally and our relationships we have here, because we work very hard on that. When it comes to other agencies conflicting with us, some of our partners there.
They're playing our song.
I'm glad you know the firefighter song. So there's a potential of agencies not wanting to cooperate, work with you, not wanting to share resources. And there was a time, and I think every agency, if somebody out there also works for EMA or any kind of public safety, they've experienced that before. We here, fortunately, have been through tragedies that have seen the benefit of what happens when you come together to get the job done. What it looks like to get your community back up and running, how the response is from the community to see a united front, that one team, one voice kind of a response. So that's carried us into a new era where we're working well together. So we don't come along with those issues. And if we do, we try to address that. We try to say, hey, come to the table, let's talk this out, let's figure this out, because everything I have, you have. If you request something of me, it does not matter what you need, I'm going to provide it for you.
Well, and it's sad that I think it kind of takes a few emergencies in these communities for them to figure out, hey, this is an important thing to have. It's good for us to have that communication. And I think there's a lot of rural areas in the United States where maybe they have EMA, but not a close-knit EMA like we do, like the type of relationship that you know our agencies do.
Yeah, a lot of and going back to the misconception parts, because EMA is not a defined role in public safety. So it's very funny. I keep trying to tell people I'm finding a sexy way to explain what I do. Police, we fight bad guys. Fire, we put out fire. You know, it's very simple in understanding. With EMA, people think, oh, you're the hurricane guys. Oh, that's cool. So like 6 months out of the year, you're kicked back watching TV, watching the Weather Channel. Well, no, that's not the case.
Oh, it's not?
No, unfortunately it's not. I would love it to be, because I have a lazy boy. Oh, I think it's amazing. Vibrates.
Hey.
But that's our biggest thing. We're involved in a lot of things. We've helped support and brought the drone division here locally. We are advocates for that. We have several drones that we provide for multiple agencies. We've coordinated a dive team for our area, and we've just now recently got several advanced rescue divers from this past week. We have a volunteer force that goes out. We also plan community events.
Yeah.
You know, we've had, National Night Out. We do a trunk or treat. We've done United Way Health Fair stuff. We are essential in a lot of things behind the scenes to bring better services to the community. And again, being that there's two of us, we work very hard to keep those relationships. So that way, if we call our neighbors, we can say, hey, can you guys come, show up, meet the community, have an opportunity so they can see you guys, or whatever is necessary. I'm happy to help. Right there, being able to be ready for action. It's ever growing, and it's hard to kind of get that out of people's head. But it's also fun to make fun of us because we're easily bookable.
Next question, and this is one that I really wanted to ask, because Alec was in my office recently kind of talking about education and stuff, and I thought this was a great question. And this one is from Instagram. Any worthwhile university degrees for the job to climb the promotion ladder?
To climb the promotion ladder, I think if you're going to get in this field, Now, our state has a certified emergency manager certification program that you go through the state, and it's a huge benefit because it gives you the spectrum of everything that encompasses emergency management. Everything from, like we were talking about, PIO stuff, understanding the NIM structure, how to command an EOC, the different responsibilities, all the way down to weather and logistics, knowing how to read the weather stuff, the products that come to you, how to logistically get all the foods or the resources, anything available to you, how to understand web EOC, how to put in requests to the state. It's a multifaceted training program, and it takes a good few months to kind of go to these classes. It's not all like one shot. Now, there is a national one shot where it's about, I think, I want to say 2-3 weeks that you can go through, and it kind of covers a lot of the same stuff.
You're nationally certified?
Yeah. But for the state, you have a very specific, it's on par with the national one, but it's a few extra classes because, we like to be a little extra.
So it's kind of like in law enforcement where you have to take certain classes to get, say, your intermediate certification. Same sort of thing. Okay.
Yep. And it has different tiers. There's the CEM, which is the basic, the advanced, which you have to actually be in the service. In addition to other classes, you have to have a couple years under your belt. And then there's the professional. And the professional one is very interesting because you also have to be published. You have to put out magazines and papers and all that kind of stuff. It's a challenge. It's worth it. It's just like with every field that you're in, getting that highest level of certification, it gives you that goal, that drive, and a better understanding. You build relationships. You have, you get experiences from people. And that's what a lot of EMA is about, is experiencing those people that you meet along the way. I can't solve this problem with what I have, but I do have a friend over here that's experienced this. I can call up and get their help or get them to come over and help me.
EMA, I've come to find out, EMA is really the artery for all public safety and people outside of that public safety umbrella to communicate with each other. EMA is kind of like the knot that ties all of us together, helps everybody do their job successfully. They are kind of the heartbeat, if you will, of the state, because anytime there's any kind of an emergency, we rely on them to help us out. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be successful in doing our jobs. So I think it's important for us to have these relationships with EMA. And if you're an officer out there or you're a firefighter, make sure to build that relationship with EMA because you will need them when crisis arises in your town.
We're a good resource to have. And in some areas, we're an unknown resource. They say we're here luckily because we have those relationships. We've gone through those disasters and those emergency responses. Some places don't realize how important or how valuable it is.
Well, you made a comment the other day in my office. You said that Georgia requires EMA in every county, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Every county has to have an EMA representative. Now, you find a lot of fire chiefs, some police chiefs or 911 directors, or a chief if you're established as a chief as a 911 operator. They'll just kind of make it an ancillary title, but we're really pushing hard, a lot of the people in EMA, to make sure that that's a full-time position. Right now, even in our district, we have an EMA director, and she is a part-time director and a full-time paramedic. Wow. So she's working her 24-hour or 48-hour rotation shifts. An emergency happens, and she has to put on her hat to be an EMA director.
I know she stays busy.
Very much so. And the thing you got to think about is when a disaster hits, a lot of people have this fear on the higher up command level. That EMA director, we kind of assume a higher position of command, where we have to delegate, we have to do all these things because it's required by the state. And some people don't like that.
I was about to say, I can see that clashing with a lot of personalities, especially people in law enforcement, because they're used to being the ones that are in charge all the time. So to have to relinquish that to somebody else hurts egos sometimes. But during emergencies, if any time more important to put your ego to the side, that would be it. Because again, you have to work together to accomplish a common goal. Next question, have any of your skills learnt in either sector cross paths into each other? So have you ever used MMA on anybody in EMA?
Have I wanted to use my MMA? Yes. Have I physically done that? No. But I will say, in an honest answer, it does help with the adrenaline, understanding the control of the situation. When you're in the middle of the night and you hear a hurricane rattling your roof and the uncertainty of what's going on. For me personally, it kind of reminded myself, for fun, I get punched in the face. And I can handle that pretty well. I'm ready to handle whatever comes this way. So for me, I think the adrenaline rush and control and being used to training hard, being prepared, understanding the physicality, understanding all the work that it goes into it has translated over to MMA or to EMA, where you have to prepare your troops, you have to train your people, you have to make sure everything is ready to go for the time the big show hits you, and you're going to get that punch in the face, that you're ready to respond. And it could be with a numerous amount of different responses, but you have them.
Yeah.
And that's through the training, that's through the hard work, and that's through the dedication that comes from both fields. I mean,
and staying calm amongst the chaos.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God, if you panic, everyone panics. They look at you. And that was one thing, you got to experience our EOC.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of people in there. At one time, when you're doing partner updates, they're all looking at you. You have to be in control of that ship. I'm a goofy kind of person. I brought my battle hat, my Viking horned hat, on the day of the storm.
I'll see if I can find a picture and I'll put it up here on the screen so you guys can see it. I'm gonna have to do some digging for that. It was imagine Elmer Fudd wearing the Viking hat, and that's exactly what he looked like.
It was great. But yeah, so they do, oddly enough, have a relationship with each other, MMA and EMA.
All right, last question. Has there ever been a time where a stupid law compromised the safety of somebody and you decided to break the rule for the sake of safety?
Break the rule for the sake of safety, or break the rule for the for the sake of saving people?
Either one.
Either one? Okay, yeah. So yes. We tell our responders by law we have to stop response when tropical storm winds come in, 40 miles an hour. Try telling that to a crew of law enforcement firefighters when you visibly can see people in their home with water coming into their house, and you have someone who's in a wheelchair that can't get out.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter if they left during evacuation, if they couldn't, if they didn't have the means to. What matters is getting that person out of safety. Do we have our responders go out and do that? We've done it in the past. It's something that we got on this job to save people. That's what we're here for. That's our responsibility. Did we try to make sure we do it in the safest way possible? Absolutely. Were some laws or some rules broken about it? That's left for someone else to say, but those people are safe. Those people got to a higher location. We got them taken care of. We didn't lose anyone during those storms. It was because of our responders. Sometimes you do have to know where you can bend those rules for the sake of life preservation. Now, there are times when we have to hold them back. When storm conditions are too bad, we can't save those people. And there's a lot of incidences like that. Superstorm Sandy, we actually show people the video from the 911 center where dispatchers are on the call saying, get to your roof, cut your way through your attic to your roof. And you hear on the other line a father and his son panicking, trying to get away from the storm surge that's coming in their homes. And they have to tell them, they have to say, we're not coming for you. We can't dispatch a helicopter. We can't put our people in safety or our people in danger like that. There is real stakes at play when it comes to these storms. And that's something that we have to take on. So we do our best to get the right people trained. We do our best to educate people to make the right decision for their family. But we, at the same time, we're here to save people's lives. No matter what, at the end of the day, that's why we got on this job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You bring up an interesting point though. There's a lot of people that decide on their own to stay behind during some of these horrible events that happen, especially like with hurricanes. There's a lot of people that stay behind. Oh, my house will be fine, or I evacuated last time for no reason, I'm not going to do it again. Even though it's two totally different storms, it has nothing to do with each other. People are stubborn. Some people can't afford to leave, which that I can understand, that I get. But if you're just stubborn about it, I think there's no reason for you to stay behind. You're just putting yourself and first responders in danger because they're going to have to save you. The thing that most people don't understand, and we're going to conclude the video on this, there will come a point where you are told, and Alec just said it, there will come a point where there's nobody coming for you. We are not going to send officers. Just because you call 911 does not mean you're just going to automatically get police, you're going to get fire, you're going to get all these resources to help you. There does come a point during a storm and its approach when it starts getting too bad outside where nobody's coming for you. 911 is not going to do anything for you. And I think people don't think about that when they stay behind, because we get calls all the time of people needing help and we can't do anything about it. You know, and it might take days to even get to you because maybe limbs have fallen in the road. We can't drive our car to your house. We literally cannot respond to you. So think about that. Next time you guys are in any sort of a situation with a natural disaster, if you have a chance to get out, I highly recommend you get out, because otherwise you are on your own. So, did you have anything you wanted to add before the end?
Yeah, to what you said, you know, our job is to, another aspect when it comes to those disasters, we have to consider those that can't make the decision for themselves. And that's two primary groups of people: the very young, children, and the very old, the elderly that live in homes, might be by themselves, might not have a means to understand what's going on or get out of the way. We have to be able to get those people safely and away from danger. Man, we have people that could get out of the way, that could evacuate themselves or potentially help them. That gets into our way of helping those people. Those that can't help themselves is why we're here as well. So if you have that opportunity to get out of the way, make a plan, be smart, get out of the way. I know it's encumbersome. I know people don't like spending the money. It's a very hard thing to do, to sit there and say, I'm going to uproot myself for up to a week, if not more, to just go out and sit and wait to be able to come back. It's stressful. And one of the things that we experienced is storm fatigue. Everyone got storm fatigue from this one.
Yeah.
But what is that against the cost of your life, your children's life, or someone who couldn't help themselves' life because somebody was stubborn? Like you said, every storm is different. Every disaster is a unique event. Take it like that. Make sure you're going into each storm fresh, understanding what's coming towards you, what the potential is, and not based off what happened in the past.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure you've heard that too.
Oh yeah.
I left last time and look what happened. I'm staying this time.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest way you can possibly think when it comes to a natural disaster.
It is a commonality, and it's something that we continuously fight. It's getting an opportunity like this, come out here and talk to you, talk to this large audience, to be able to tell people, yes, that is a common thought process that we have to deal with. But if we can educate people, if we can talk to people,
that's why we're here.
Give you the resources.
Yep.
Tell you these things are free for you to be able to go out and make the best decision possible. You have the potential to allow us to do our job and help someone that couldn't help themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to anything natural disaster on the EMA side that we want to tell people.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Alec, I appreciate you being here, buddy. If you guys have any questions or comments and you want to leave them in the comments section below, let us know. Maybe we can have Alec back on the show. If you have not already, make sure to join us at patreon.com/officer401. Sign up today. I'm going to start doing 2 live streams every single month for you guys to show my appreciation for my paid subscribers. So if you haven't already, sign up below. I appreciate it. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Tomorrow is Monday, which I know sucks for everybody, but let's tackle it head on. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.